conspiracy theories is that his son did it. I don't remember.
His son was like a young child at the time.
No. He had another son or something that was like a teenager, like an older teenager or something like that. I went there. That's what I do at night. Is when I can't sleep, I go down these rabbit holes of either like cults or like unsolved cases, just because I find them fascinating. It's like, how could you not figure it out? You know, isn't that your job to figure things out? Figure it out. What's the problem here?
Yeah, man. I don't know. I ain't gonna blame it on his son, but
I'm just saying. You know, we gotta look at all the evidence.
All right,
we gotta look at all the evidence here. So you've been on the Spawncast for quite a while. What would you say is the worst thing about being on the Spawncast?
The worst thing about being on the Spawncast? Talking to you guys. You know, there really isn't any negative thing about being on the Spawn. I'm not trying to just say that just to say because you guys are my friends, but there really isn't any negative thing. It helps us a lot. We get new exposure to fans, you know. But I would say sometimes the chat can be annoying as hell. But outside of that, there's not really any negative. But I would say sometimes the chat be going crazy, like what was it a few weeks ago? They're like, oh, OJ needs to be taken off. He's just they're just, you know, so sometimes they be going kind of crazy, which is fine. Like fans are allowed to say anything however they want. But I mean, that's probably the worst thing, and it's not even that bad. It's really not even that bad.
Yeah, for some reason, with the last episode of the Spawncast, which I think everyone but Max was on there, because Max is usually the target that everyone likes to get on. But I'm pretty sure everyone else is on there. I don't even remember doing anything or saying anything outside of the norm, and I looked the next day at all the comments and like, Archie Cheeseburger got the quality of this show. He needs to go. I'm like, I didn't fucking do anything this past week. Like, there are weeks where I clearly do something. I think a lot of people don't understand, though, is a lot of the things that I say to spark conversation. Because I don't get these shows where it's like everyone is just like, so what do you think about that? Yeah, you know, I think it's cool. Yeah, I think it's cool too. All right, let's move on to the next topic. It's like, bro, who wants to watch this? I want to see people going back and forth. I want to see conflict. I want to see drama. That's what people thrive on. Like, I don't get these boring ass video game shows. That's what makes Weapon Wheel such an enjoyable watch for me. Because none of those people get along. And they're always yelling at each other. And they're just saying completely out of pocket shit. And it's great.
Yeah, you know, and I don't understand, like, I can understand maybe why people don't want it to go too crazy. But, like, if you've ever watched any successful talk show or sports show, like, what are the most successful sports shows? Undisputed.
Yeah, Undisputed.
First Take. First Things First. You know, those are all, and I would say our show is kind of more like First Things. I don't know if you've seen First Things First.
I have
seen that show?
Yeah.
Yeah. Our show's more like that. It's not quite head-to-head debate like Undisputed is, but it's more like we make jokes, and sometimes it can be a little bit more, sometimes it's not, you know, but it's kind of more like a conversation, a round-table conversation, and those guys disagree all the time, but they make jokes about it, they laugh about it, they say, well, you said this, and they go back and forth, but it's not anything super personal. So I guess there are people who like the Sky type of show where everybody's just, you know, like the Dr. Lupo or Pokimane type of stuff where everybody's just getting together and just saying kumbaya, you know, 100% of the time. But I don't think that makes for an entertaining show when you're not up to some type of level where people just like you even if your content is trash. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. People just like you no matter what. We're not there. We have to create something. So it's okay to have our Metroid disagreements. It's okay to have our Pokemon disagreements. It's okay for someone to say, well, you said this. They're like, no, I said this. That's okay. That doesn't mean we're going to like hate each other. We hate each other. It creates a conversation. So I don't understand the you need to be removed type of stuff because I didn't like what you said. It's like, that's the whole point. You're supposed to disagree sometimes or agree or whatever the case is, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
understand.
We're not trying to have good vibes throughout the show, is what I'm trying to say.
Sorry to name drop people on your show. I didn't know if you wanted me to.
I don't give a this doesn't care. I mean, that's just, that's a very kumbaya sort of thing. I wasn't even addressing the good vibes podcast. Anyways, so I think another question that a lot of people want to know is, what happened to the Furious One?
Yeah, I'll tell you. So essentially when I was first, like, when I was first starting up YouTube, I really liked Angry Joe. I thought Angry Joe, and I wanted to do reviews. So I felt like, hey, I could do like a separate thing. Cause it wasn't even when I first started YouTube. It's like when I wanted to branch off my channel to do like reviews, and I still wanted to keep like my news and all that. So I was like, hey, I can do like a alter persona, and I can just talk about games in this type of way. And to be honest, it was really successful at first, but I couldn't deal with the crazy people at that time. Like the crazy people, that community, the crumb side community. It was, like I said, I was gaining thousands of subs. Like, it was doing really, really well at the beginning. But I just didn't really feel like dealing with everybody in the comment section and dealing with all that drama. So I just decided to just drop it.
Yeah, a lot of those people, they can go. I mean, look at what's happening with the angry video game nerd. Like, there are tons of channels and different sorts of outlets that are like constantly covering like his demise and stuff like that. Because I guess, I don't know, like, I mean, do some of the new episodes, do they have the same charm as the old ones? No, but at some point in time, it's like, also what you like evolves. What you like becomes different. What you liked 5 years ago, you might not like today. What you like 10 years ago, you might not like today. So I feel like people's tastes are constantly evolving. And there's always going to be people that like that, sort of in your face, like, fuck this game. This game sucks my ball sack. And like, I used to do shit like that too, but it's kind of like, I don't know, you got to reel it in a little bit because I feel like the people who enjoyed that sort of style, that number is kind of diminishing.
Yeah. His videos are I think he still gets pretty good views. But he does a lot of other stuff. He does movies and stuff like that.
But yeah, I mean, he's built like a huge I more or less mean someone who's not James Rolfe or Joe. If someone were to come along today or within the past 5 years just doing the angry shtick, it gets tiring. And sometimes you want to be positive about things. Like, it's fun to talk about things you like, and you kind of get pigeonholed a bit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I wasn't doing only the angry stuff. Like, I was doing just... Actually, the views were pretty calm and tame. It was more of, like, going off of, like, kind of like the setups like Angry Joe had, like, with doing, like, different skits and stuff. And it was, like I said, it was cool. I gained a lot of subs, but just like I said, the comment section was just sometimes pretty terrible. So I just felt like, just moving on and just doing something else,
Now, this is something that probably a lot of people don't realize, but out of everyone on the Spawncast, including, like, side guests, I've known you for actually the longest. Jordan is in second place, Wood is in third, and then Spawn himself is in fourth. But I've known you for over a decade, right? Or at least almost a decade.
Almost. I think you were...
2000, it was 2014. It was 2014.
Yeah, 2013 or 2000. I'm almost positive I read your stuff in 2013, or I definitely... You were around at that time, if I'm not correct, right?
No, yeah, because I first started in, I believe it was 2012 on another website, and then I moved to Nintendo Enthusiast, I think towards the tail end of 2013. We didn't start doing content until 2014 because we decided to pick that up.
Yeah. So it's been a hot minute.
I remember the website days and everything. Like,
oh man, try to make money on the website. Good luck.
How did that work? Did that not generate revenue? Because I always hear people say, oh, you need to have like a website to complement your stuff, and I just don't see how it's beneficial because you're making people switch from one platform to another.
Yeah, dude, quite possibly the worst years of my life. I mean, I've said this on my own stream, you know, and I have no problem talking. I know you had a discussion the other day about, you know, your own mental, you know, health stuff that you have to deal with. And at that time, that was quite possibly the worst time for me mentally. When you work all day on a website, now this isn't every website. Now there's very successful websites that do very well, but running it yourself and not having a team, you know, not having that backing is very, very difficult. And that's essentially what I did at playeressence.com for so long. You know, you work all day. Like I remember E3, I think I worked all day, all month. We were just getting ready, and I think my check was like $600. You know what I'm saying? For like the whole month. And that was like working on the website from like day to night. Once again, there's very successful websites, but that was a really, really low point for me. And then I think there was one point, like my checks were like $250, $300 every single month. There was one point where I just had a mental breakdown. I think it was like I was working, and nothing was coming in. And then my sponsor got, like my AdSense got revoked. Somebody false reported, got revoked. I tried to use other places, but they were like giving like malware or whatever, like their ads were trash, and I'm just like, dude, this is terrible. And then, you know, I was a young father at that time, you know, so I was dealing with a person that I didn't really feel like dealing with, you know, at the time and everything, because things were just terrible there and trying to take care of a baby. So everything was just terrible. I had a mental breakdown, nervous breakdown. I don't know what the exact term would be, but it feels like your hair's on fire, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what it was. And I think I was like rolling on the ground. You know, it was just a nervous breakdown. So that was just a very difficult time for me trying to run a website and just trying to, you know, do things. So I had to just switch up my focus, you know, stop working on the website. I was able to get like, you know, a normal job. And I worked on YouTube as a side hustle for a while until I just said, hey, I'm going to give it a shot. You know, after I got fired from one of my other positions, let me just give it a shot. So it's kind of how it all worked out. But yeah, websites are it's rough to run a website. YouTube is much, much better, at least for me, at least. Or even like if it was Twitch or just something else would be better than trying to do a website.
No, I completely agree with that. And you did it in a smart way to where, because so many people, they get into YouTube and then they just drop everything, and it's like, bro, you can't do that. You have to build it and you have to assume that the YouTube isn't going to ever take off. And once it does, if it does start to take off, then you could look at it as a thing. Like, don't quit the day job and, you know, put all your eggs into one basket.
I made that mistake. That was me. To start Player Essence and to do YouTube, like YouTube was a smaller thing for me, but playeressence.com was like my thing. And that was the worst mistake. Because I mean, the job that I had wasn't incredible. It was one of those like starter jobs, like where they just hire anybody with a college degree, you know? So it was one of those, and it was just long hours, and it sucked, but at least, you know, it was something.
Well, that's good.
But yeah, I quit it. I quit it to do this, and I saved up quite a bit of money. I quit, and that was one of the worst decisions I ever made. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's tough because you never know when the right time is, you know, and what's going to happen. I mean, your channel, you gotta be knocking on 100K's door now, right?
Oh, it's very close to 100K. Like less than, I know it's like less than 1.5. I haven't checked recently or anything, but I know it's close. Somebody like, oh, I think I saw it was like 98,000 something. I don't know. So yeah, getting very close.
And that's the thing about you is you could look at someone, because I remember I went full time on YouTube at 80K, and people were like, that's stupid. But I think a lot of people don't understand that, like, it's not necessarily about subscriber numbers. It's about views and a community. And you have a very strong, supportive community who's always, you know, the ninja funds and all that stuff. And, like, that can circumvent, like, any other sort of metric. And I think a lot of people just don't understand that, don't get that aspect of things.
Yeah. I mean, if you would, look, sometimes I get pretty crazy support. I'll be honest. Like the Ninja Fam, they're nuts, and it really does. So it's like my channel really, it's kind of like a weird thing, you know, because usually you wouldn't see somebody at that size getting the support that I get. But I think it's because I really tried to go in, you know, and try to make it about that community and tried to make it about whatever. We're here to have fun, have jokes, whatever. It was something different. You know, I saw, you know, Etika, you know, RIP to the GOAT, you know, I saw him and I was like, man, this guy, this is something revolutionary for like a black content creator, but for anybody really to look at that and say, this is something pretty crazy, right? So I felt like, you know, I can't be as crazy as him. I'm not as young. I wasn't as young as him. I can't say the things that he says, you know, I can't do the things that he does. but I can reel it in a little bit in my way and kind of tie it into what I wanted to do. So yeah, the support that I get from the community, which is really good, the members, you know, whether it's donations, whatever the case is, really helps if I have, you know, because my views aren't as high as you guys, the rest of the Strongcast views, well, most of you guys' views, you know, my views aren't like that, but my community comes in because I stream every single day, and they help out, and they help bring the community up and help get more new subscribers and whatever the case is. So I'm always eternally grateful for every opportunity that I get, whether it's working with you here, or whether it's on the Spawncast, or whether it's anything, the people that support, hell, whether you like, dislike the videos, I appreciate everything. I know sometimes it seems like I don't because I talk too much, but that's just because of where I was raised. You know, where I just grew up. That's how you were back in the day. You just, somebody said something, you say something back.
Yeah,
that's it. You know.
I don't.
So
people get so bent out of shape about that. There was a guy this past weekend. He was talking, so I was talking back, and he was like, "Come to Baltimore. This is my real name." And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you, bro? You fucking started talking some shit. I started talking some shit back. Like, you're taking it to a whole nother level. Like, people don't understand that, you know, people are allowed to snap back, and it's not wrong. It's human nature, you know? Like,
you gotta know when sometimes.
Mahatma Gandhi here. Like,
yeah. You gotta know when sometimes it goes a little bit too far. So sometimes you gotta put your own filter, right? I know you have to go really good because people be coming at you too. So sometimes you're like, oh, I really want to, but you know what? No, not that time. It was just not this time. Maybe next time, but not this time.
I'll say it to myself. And then, like, I feel
yeah.
All right, so we've had a pretty much serious conversation, which besides the OJ stuff. So let's end it on a more random topic. Hey. What's the hardest drug you've ever done?
The hardest drug that I've ever done? Honestly, the hardest drug that I've ever done is marijuana. I have not done anything. No. I kid you not, the hardest thing that I've ever done was a little bit of marijuana back in the day when I was like, more than a decade ago at this point. Just a little bit. That's the hardest thing that I've ever done. No pills, no hard drugs, no anything like that.
Blunt or a bong?
Just one of the old school bong ones.
Okay.
Yeah, just, and I was like, and I started coughing to the point to where I was like, I can't breathe. And then I'm like, I'm done. That was the last time.
That means it was a good hit, though. You were on the right path. Don't do drugs.
I was like, I started coughing to the point, but it was like, I guess it was illegal back then. It was illegal. Now it's legal. Now it's like whatever. Or at least here in California, it's legal.
Yeah,
I know not every state.
A lot of places. I think we're decriminalized here. I haven't smoked in for fucking ever, but I know if I was in high school and it was like that, like, man, it would have made life easier because you wouldn't have to worry as fucking much.
Yeah, I mean, I was always in playing sports, so I mean, like, access to even getting that stuff was just something that I wasn't really thinking about. I was just thinking about, hey, I gotta rush for this many yards. I'm trying to go to college. I had all these schools, you know, giving me letters for this, so it was always like, yeah, there was times where I was around some more crazy stuff, but I'm like, nah, man, I got practice, or I gotta do this, or I gotta visit in the morning, or whatever. There was always something because I went to the only reason why I went to that school was to play football. That was the only reason why I even went to the school that I went to, you know? So that was what I was all about when I was younger. Then once I got into college, it was like, okay, well, grades. I'm there on scholarship, you know, I'm there on academic scholarships. So I'm like, okay, my grades. I gotta keep my grades up, So that was really, and I was trying to play football. As well. So I just didn't really have time to really think about anything else. And in college, I was a nerd. I was not cool anymore, you know? So it's not like I had cool friends, like super cool friends to hang around with that did all that stuff.
Did you have the plain style silk button-down shirt with the wife beater underneath? You can tell me. It's okay.
I probably did at one point, I'll be honest.
Well, OJ, this has been a very enjoyable conversation. I'll have links to OJ's channel in the description box down below. In case you don't know him, you should know him. But yeah, welcome back to Who the Fuck Is. I told you season 2 was coming back. I actually have another interview that we're going to do today, but you won't see that till probably next week. And yeah, any final words for the people?
No, I just want to say thank you to the RGT community, RGT Live community. I appreciate you guys no matter what I say on Twitter or anything. Thank you guys for watching the episode, and once again, I'm very, very humbled and appreciated for my friend RGT to have me on his show here. I appreciate it.
Stop it. I've known you forever. All right, people, we're out. We'll see you next time.
back. You are listening to Nate the Hate on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you have not already, as we are rapidly approaching 20,000 subscribers on YouTube. And for this episode, we are going to forego dedications as well as Streamlabs questions at the end of the episode, as we have a feeling this episode will run a little short, and I don't want to disrespect any of the donations given to the channel by applying them to a less than standard episode. So dedications and Streamlabs questions will resume next week on our full-length episode of Nate the Hate. But today I have my co-host, Odd and Vintage Gamer, joining me as always.
Hello, Nate. It's great to be here. And thanks for having me on. Enjoying the World Cup right now. I know Portugal had a big win and going into the quarterfinals. So how are you feeling about Portugal right now?
Right now, I'm feeling very confident about Portugal. They made a key move by benching Cristiano Ronaldo, which before the game started, a lot of people were upset by that move, and they were wondering if maybe Portugal had just given up in the tournament, and instead the move gave the team new life. They played very organized today. They were fast. This is the best Portugal has looked as a national team on the international stage in a long time. And, you know, they're playing their next game against Morocco. I think they will handedly defeat Morocco and advance where they could face France, which will be a very competitive matchup. As you know, they played France in the Euro Cup finals a couple of tournaments ago. They did defeat France in a great upset, but
It was a good match.
header with the goal out of nowhere. And, you know, they looked really, really strong today on the pitch. So I'm looking forward to the game this weekend and to see how the World Cup advances for them. And I'm definitely curious if Ronaldo will be on the bench for this upcoming match. You would assume he has to.
I think he will. But we're not here to talk about soccer or football. As much as I want to talk about soccer for the next hour, we have some really, really more pressing matters to talk about.
We do, because this week it is the Game Awards with Jeff Keighley.
Our favorite show. We love it.
We do. Once a year, we get to celebrate with a lot of awards. Most aren't shown during the show itself, but we get to see some game trailers, some new announcements, updates on previously announced games, and we're going to give our predictions of what we expect to see at this year's Game Awards. In recent years, you know, they definitely had a few surprises, like the Xbox Series X being announced during the show, or our first look at Hellblade 2, Alan Wake 2,
Perfect Dark,
and Perfect Dark. Microsoft has certainly had a presence in recent years, and, you know, we're going to discuss if we think Microsoft will continue that trend for the Game Awards in 2022.
Yeah, and just real quick before we jump into these predictions, I just want to reiterate to our listeners that this is a prediction show. We have zero knowledge of any insider information or anything about the Game Awards. I certainly have no idea about what's happening. We're predicting. This is more of a fun thing. If things happen, then fantastic. If they don't, then they don't. But we're certainly not saying that we have any knowledge of anything that's happening at this show. It's just predictions, and it's fun.
Right. Yeah, this is just entertainment.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
We're just giving predictions of what we hope are there. And, you know, we're looking at trends, rumors, news that's going about, and coming up with what we feel as though is the most realistic possibility of what we will see from the show from the various partners. There'll be a lot of things shown that we will not predict, because it's impossible to predict what free-to-play game will be there, what Chinese developer may show up with a new IP,
right,
or what IP an established studio in the West could potentially come back and revive. But that's the fun of predictions, is just look at possibilities. And we're going to start with some of the third-party presents that we are predicting could be at the Game Awards this year. And the first company to kick off our predictions is going to be FromSoft. FromSoft has a strong record of attendance when it comes to Jeff Keighley shows, be it the Game Awards or Summer Game Fest, and there's no reason to see them buck the trend this year. And we know that they have been working on a new installment of the Armored Core series for quite some time. This has been rumored for what feels as though the better part of 2022. And given that Elden Ring DLC was just announced and released, I think Armored Core is going to get a trailer at the Game Awards, and we're going to see a new take on the franchise. It has been several years since we've seen a new entry to the Armored Core series, and I'd be very curious as to what FromSoft can do with the franchise now, because I think it's going to differ from what we've seen over the last couple of installments, and maybe goes back to the original roots that helped establish the franchise as a dominant PS1 game as well as a PS2 game.
Yeah, I think Armored Core is a good pick, Nate. I think that it will get announced as well. I will say that I'm not a big Armored Core guy. I'm familiar with the franchise, but I think it fits. You know, Elden Ring, we know what's happening there, you know, and FromSoft obviously have been busy with you know, teasing their next game, and I think Armored Core is it. And you're right, I think there is a trailer and more information at the Game Awards.
Now, if Armored Core is there, do you think they give us a release date or a release window, perhaps?
Oh, I think they may just drop 2023 or just a year next to it and just kind of go from there. You know, I think I don't think they're going to get too specific with dates, because right now dates don't really mean anything anymore in video games. It's really just about a window or a year. So I think that's probably what we're going to see. I mean, they could say, you know, holiday 2023 or summer 2023, let's say, but I think they'll just put 2023 next to it.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. I think the game will come out in the first half of 2023, and, you know, maybe they just say spring of 2023, because as we saw with Elden Ring, when that was originally announced and dated, I believe it was delayed once,
It was.
correct?
Yes, it was delayed. That's correct.
So you don't want to run into that again with a major release.
Right.
So I think they're going to play it a little close to the chest, just give a general window, you know, spring, and then as it gets closer, they can just tweet out the exact release day and month and get people excited. But I do have to bring up Elden Ring, because Elden Ring is up for Game of the Year, as well as several other nominations. And yes, we just had DLC release, which is PvP focused. But we know we're going to get some expansion type of DLC. The game is not complete yet. This is a product that FromSoft wants to build upon.
Right.
And the game is just ripe for an expansion pack. Is the Game Awards the venue that they will use to give us a expansion pack trailer, or do you think they want to keep the focus on Armored Core or whatever they have next?
I think they're probably going to keep the focus on Armored Core. A Elden Ring expansion, DLC, whatever we want to call it. I mean, it could happen, let's be honest. Elden Ring, the Game Awards made Elden Ring in many ways, because that's kind of where it started. And, you know, it got nominated for Game of the Year. So there's definitely a lot of, I guess, connections there. But I think Armored Core is it for FromSoft. Outside of Elden Ring being obviously nominated for about 10 awards, and it's probably going to win a bunch of them.
Yeah, it could be a very big night for FromSoft and Elden Ring. That's something
Right.
that we will find out when the show airs. And I mean, personally, I would say Elden Ring is my game of the year to this point. It's a game I thoroughly loved. So
Yep.
any recognition it gets, you know, I'm certainly rooting for.
Yeah, same. And I know we're not predicting Game of the Year, but I think it will take Game of the Year over God of War Ragnarok. I think it deserves to win.
See, yeah, I haven't played God of War Ragnarok.
Neither have
myself,
I, actually.
so
I'm gonna unwrap it on Christmas Day and play it.
there you go.
But God of War Ragnarok obviously is a big game, and it could easily clinch many awards that it's up for over Elden Ring. So
yeah, it's definitely going to be a tight battle between the two.
Yeah, definitely.
All depend how the jury felt the day of voting.
Right.
Now I want to go to another third-party company, and that's Capcom. Capcom has put out a tweet that heavily implies they have some sort of announcements and that their fans should tune in to the Game Awards. And I believe that Capcom will have a few announcements. One being the most obvious is that we're going to get a new character trailer for Street Fighter 6. This really wouldn't come as a surprise. At most of the events this year that Capcom has had a presence, they've had a new character be revealed, new gameplay footage. We also know that there is a second closed beta starting in the second half of this month, so the timing just fits for us to get a brand new character look.
Yep, I agree. Street Fighter 6 will be at the Game Awards with a new character reveal. Good timing. All round, people are getting hype for this game. I think the Game Awards is the perfect venue for it.
Now, if you had to give a prediction as to which character they may show, who do you have preference to?
That's a good question. Maybe someone that we haven't seen for a while. You know, like from the Alpha 3 days or the Third Strike days. Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe Skullomania. It's just something like out of left field that like hasn't been in a Street Fighter game for a while. Rolento from Final Fight, maybe. Poison. No, Poison could be announced.
Oh wow,
could be anything. I couldn't really say, but maybe someone from Street Fighter Alpha 2, or going back a little further. I don't know. What do you think? What's your pick for the character?
I've always been a Vega fighter, and I would love to see Vega come to Street Fighter 6, expand his moveset a bit, really see how they could evolve the character a bit. So that'd be my prediction for a character. I just love that theme music. I love the Spanish music.
Oh yeah.
That they have, and I believe this track is called "The Masked Narcissist." So I just love that tune. So if I hear that beat start and see Vega get revealed, I'd be pretty hyped. And if he was playable in a beta, early next year, let's say they detail an open beta leading up to the launch of the game, I'd be very excited.
I like it.
But there is certainly another big game from Capcom looming just over the horizon, and that is Resident Evil 4 Remake. We saw this a few months back at a Sony State of Play. The game looks fantastic, and I think we'll see it again at the Game Awards, but I also feel as though this is the time and place to announce a shadow drop or a demo on likely exclusive on the PlayStation Store like we saw with Village, and then it will come a day or two, maybe a week later on the Xbox Store. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, I like it. And it may not be a demo. It may just be one of those little playgrounds that they put you in where you can kind of mess around with for 30 minutes or something, right? Like, the kitchen demo or something like that. But yeah, I think we'll get something from Resident Evil 4 that is playable, that we can kind of install and mess around with after the show. I think that's a good pick.
Yeah, this just seems like the right place to give us a playable demo for RE4. The game's coming out in March. It's right around the corner. This is likely the last big venue that they're going to showcase the game at, unless Sony opens 2023 with a State of Play or a Sony Showcase. So it just feels like the timing and the stars have aligned for an RE4 demo. Now, otherwise from these two games, we know that Capcom has Monster Hunter Rise coming to PlayStation and Xbox, as well as Steam in January. This was just announced this week on Twitter. It's also going to be part of Game Pass. So it doesn't feel as though that will have any particular presence at the Game Awards, as it's already getting its moment in the sun. Do you think Capcom could have anything other than these two games have a meaningful presence at the Game Awards? We know they have titles like Pragmata,
Yep.
Exoprimal,
Yep.
and Pragmata we have not seen since it was originally announced.